Oh, hey there, everyone. All right, we're in week 6. So this portion of the course, and I think from here forward, the last 3 modules, what I try to do here is actually wrap something around these concepts that we have been talking about and reading and learning and discussing to give it some bit of a practical nature to it. And so what the first step into that for this would be to start talking about purpose. And the book this week, I just love this book. If you haven't read it yet, Life on Purpose by Vic Strecker. It's really good stuff. He's a great speaker. He's been around for a while. He's at University of Michigan. He's done many projects in different areas related to wellness, but in particular, this topic of what is purpose and how that affects our own health and well-being has been something he's been taken a deep dive in for the last several years. And so this book has a lot to it, and I think there's a lot we can get from it in many different ways. But particular to what we're talking about here, this really is, I guess, like an age-old question. Why am I here? What is my purpose in life? What am I supposed to be doing with these gifts and talents that I have? How do I know what is my direction to go? And so those are all really good, really big questions. And I think that ties in to what we've been talking about in this course. And it really, I think, comes as a nice transition from our last conversation about true self. And so, kind of wrestling with this concept about I'm feeling like sometimes I'm pulled in a direction, and those might be social, societal, ego influences that I'm doing this thing, but really my heart, pulls me in this direction. And, how do I know? And many of you have asked those questions, and rightfully so. And kudos to you for allowing yourself to go in this space in your reflections to say, how do I know? How do I know what I'm supposed to be doing or what is right for me? And again, that's age-old questions that I think all of us should be asking. And I guess there is, there's only one person that can answer that question, and of course that is only you. And it takes some discernment and certainly some time for that. And by that I mean, I think I'll take an afternoon. I think we all know that isn't it. But I think allowing ourselves to move in this direction of asking those questions about what is my life purpose and what is mine to do. I like that phrase. I think most of all, what is mine to do, as opposed to sometimes I feel like we get maybe pressured or influenced into thinking that we have to solve all the world's problems. But hopefully we can come to an agreement with ourselves at some point that it's not my job to solve all the world's problems. I do have probably a responsibility for something, but what is that? What is mine to do? And that might be this big, or it might be this big, or it might be this big. But getting closer to that space of knowing is a good space to be in. And I think there's a lot of peace and freedom when we start, I think, understanding those concepts a little bit better. And so, as usual, what I've said so far really has no meat to it, and it's a lot of what are you saying, and I'm trying to grasp anything that's practical here, and that's part of the I think the strategy here for this week is to try to put some strategy around that. there are some steps that Strecker recommends for us to be able to figure out what our life purpose is. And I think that's really helpful, and maybe it's a good first step. And before I lose this thought in my head, so I may not come back to it later, knowing that this takes time in order to figure this out, and get closer to it and have some kind of clarity that you can work with and to move in that direction. As I think I have concluded in both of the Chronically American and the Posturing book, that it takes some stillness, and it's paradoxically, I think, counter to how we think as Americans, that I always need to do something in order to get something or receive something, and this idea of developing a contemplative practice of some kind, some meditation, contemplative, whatever that means to you. It means lots of things, of course, can actually get us in that direction, can provide a little clarity for that. And so actually slowing yourself down and seemingly doing nothing, as what it seems like in these contemplative practices and meditation, that you're really not doing anything, but it is doing a great deal. And so there is a way of knowing that transcends beyond our rational, reductionistic thinking minds, but a way of knowing that we feel in our heart way of knowing, in our body way of knowing. And I think I may have mentioned this before in previous videos. There's lots of ways of knowing, not just in our minds, which is really the only way most of us feel like we know something, is with our minds. But as I've said before, how do you know that your mom loves you? That's a hard, you can't rationalize that one out. You can't reductionistically put the steps together, but you know in your heart, in your body, in your mind. And that comes with experience. It comes with stillness. It comes with an acceptance that there's more than one way of knowing. And I think that same thing applies to what our purpose is. What is mine to do? There is a knowing there that transcends beyond your rational mind, that you feel pulled, you feel called, you feel that there is something to what you're supposed to do that is, not just something you can make a list of on a piece of paper and just try to rationalize through it. And so I think there's a lot to that. And in order to be able to know or to hear or to see in that way, we have to be open to other ways other than just our minds. And I think in some ways, Strecker is limited a little bit in his writings to the mind, to the psychology aspects of knowing your life purpose. But I think that really resonates with a lot of people, and so I like his writings for that. But I think if you start thinking about all the things that we've read so far in this class, that perhaps it makes some bit of sense that we can't just stop at our minds to know what our life purpose is. So, for instance, if you have done Gallup Strengths Finders in the past, and this is something that Creighton has a partnership with Gallup, and so we have our freshmen do this, and in a lot of faculty development things we've done this in the past, and so I've done that as well on some exercises as what are my strengths, and I think those types of tools can help you to understand who you are, and then may provide some sense of what is your purpose, with that information. but I don't think it tells the full story. I think that's, there's more to it than that. So hopefully one of the things you're getting from this course is that life is not just a compilation of psychological experiences or knowings. It moves far beyond that, and that there's a heart way of knowing, and that there's a way of knowing that is within our bodies too. And just as an example, this is one I always like to give with this: your body knows, once you learn how to ride a bicycle, your body knows how to ride a bicycle. To keep balance. In that way, you don't have to think about riding a bicycle. And for most of us, same, I think, for most of us, for all of us, I think as we learn how to walk, we don't have to think about putting one foot in front of the other and trying to get our balance. We just get up from our chair and we walk. Same as riding a bicycle. Those are just very simple examples of our body's way of knowing. But that goes, much deeper and beyond that also. But our bodies have a way of knowing also that we can't discount. And certainly the same for our heart knowing. There's just so much to that topic and concept also that we just don't get to cover in this course. But if you're interested, there's so much to that as well. But anyway, but if we can, as I think I got to this in the end of the Posturing Towards Wholeness book, if we can find a way to combine these together and to be able to know by using all of this ways of knowing, then it provides a little better clarity for us. But the only way we can get there is to slow ourselves down enough to realize it. And that is, again, counter to our way of life in America. That's just a fast pace. And it's mostly relying on psychology as far as knowing goes. And it relies on doing something to get something. So sometimes we try to, do something to work so hard at knowing what is my life purpose. And, paradoxically, we need to slow ourselves to know, I think, most times for something that is this big. So anyway, so that's kind of I think the direction here that I'm hoping that you can move to and in far as this week goes. And so we've got an extra assignment this week, and that is for you to write your life purpose statement. And so in the book, Strecker actually has steps on what he recommends to write a life purpose statement. And I think that's helpful. It has helped me. I've done it in the past many times, and I've gone back to that many times to say, is this still my life purpose? Because as you will read, there is so much data related to our well-being and health benefits from knowing what our purpose is in life. And that can be in many categories, as you will read. He talks about having personal, work-related, so forth, those different areas of having a purpose in different areas. And I think that's true and helpful in many ways there too. So the added assignment this week is to write your life purpose statement. So it's kind of fun. And hopefully it can give some clarity. It's a starting point. It takes a little bit to write that, think about it, write it, refine it, rewrite it, and keep it somewhere where you can refer back to it and say, is this still relevant for me? But as his research has shown, keeping this top of mind, what your life purpose is, continually reminds us and gives us some clearer direction on as we move through life that helps us to get to where we feel like we should be and that we're being called to be. And I think that's the reason why I wanted you to read his work. So then, as far as the question for the week, for the discussion question, is really relating true self, in that thinking about the connections between knowing your true self and life purpose. How can these examples of knowing lead to lower chronic stress and the ability to lead others. And so, that's, again, the theme of this course is that knowing what your life purpose is and relating that to your true self, how does that factor into our stress level, our personal stress level? How does that factor into us and our ability to lead others? Does that give us a greater appreciation for everyone once we see it in ourselves, that we ourselves have a life purpose and what that particularly might be, that so does everybody else? And how does that change the way we interact with others, particularly from a leadership side? And that's why I feel like this part is important here. So that's it for the week. I always look forward to this portion of the course too, so that hopefully, as many of you are rightfully asking the questions, how do I know, that you can start to come to an understanding of, this is how I begin to know, that it takes time, and it takes stillness, and it takes a contemplative practice in order to have some clarity on what is mine to do in this world. So I look forward to reading your purpose statement for sure at the end of the week, and as always, listening to your wonderful discussion recordings, which I think has gone great, and the discussions has just been so good for this course, and then reading your reflections as well. If you have any questions, let me know. Have a good week.